certain policy, they would end it with like some catchy opening, like end it with some catchy closing and conclusion, and end it with "Make America Great Again." So what happens then is that we believe that it usually comes with the idea to make it more appealing towards individuals who are currently trying and who are trying to find a party that best suited with their rights. Right? We have to understand that usually this political rhetoric are also over endorsed by a certain party, which means this idea of that rhetoric itself will be celebrated. Therefore, people will be coerced into believing this form of political rhetoric at the end of the day, right? We feel that the only purpose of this rhetoric is to unite voters in order to gain support so that they can win that form of election. No, thank you. We believe that whatever form of political rhetoric, when you create a rhetoric, your focus is not to cater to the people, but your focus is actually win the election itself. We believe that you can be manipulative towards the policies when you blind people with this form of rhetoric. Second level of argumentation. What are the problems for rhetoric? So number one, when it is over endorsed, I believe that people will become clouded by that certain rhetoric to begin with, because that's the only thing that is living within their mind. People are not actually focusing on the idea of their policies at all. We believe that the idea of hopeful rhetoric is frequently propagated as something that you need to do in order to ensure that Malaysia will develop, in order to ensure that America will become the best country in the whole world at the end of the day. No, thank you. So secondly, when it comes to the second problem, with the rhetoric itself, when it's often misinterpreted. I believe that what happens here is that when people often disregard that certain political rhetoric, it will create false hope towards these individuals, right? We believe that the idea here is that for a Muslim, for people who is much more conservative, getting hudud is probably the idea of a new Malaysia. Getting for people who support the DMP, having their Chinese exam accepted within the within the curriculum of tertiary education would be the idea of having a new Malaysia. However, I believe that does not exist, especially when these individuals only use it to control the people and also to create in order to ensure that these people would believe to this party at the end of the day. No, thank you. So lastly, why is it harmful towards the people itself? So number one, I believe that when it gives false hope towards these individuals, you put these people in a facade where people will constantly believe that whatever you're doing, no matter how manipulative it is, no matter how unfair it is, I believe that these individuals will be persuaded. Why? Because these individuals are blinded by the idea of getting a new Malaysia, by getting the idea of having America being the greatest country in today's world. Because I believe that whatever happens towards the people, the policy can always be manipulated by the government itself. So what happens then, if these individuals do not get their form of policy or whatever they want by having from their rhetoric fulfilled, I believe that number one, they will lose trust within that certain government. Whatever, because when these individuals do not understand that the government may mean having a greater economy or having like a greater form of political stance within a certain country, we believe that when you create a world where people believe in something that is so subjective, you will regret it when people will lose trust, especially when you don't fight for the thing that they want. For example, there was a woman in America which voted for Trump because he said that he will give this woman a job at the end of the day, and she was persuaded by the rhetoric that make America great again. At the end of the day, currently he regrets voting for Trump because she never gets that idea or that from a promise fulfilled at the end of the day, right? We believe that when you lose trust towards government, you will no longer support government policies. Therefore, you create more conflicts within a certain countries. You create more boycotts. Therefore, whatever happens, whatever the government is trying to do to further development for that country cannot work because the people no longer believe in the rhetoric that you are proposing. And with that, thank you.
I thank the Prime Minister Muhammad Hazim Aishul Horni. Uh, this is his second IDC, right? Yeah, second IDC. He won his first IDC, and I'm like, bro, kasih chance lah the people, give other yeah. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah. Next, I would like to. Oh, so the reason why it's not as funny is because he was rushing to go prep, so he didn't actually give me information. So yeah. Next, I would like to invite the leader of opposition. Here.
Hope is still hope in any circumstances, but it is still the same form of hope, and that's why it matters. Firstly, I would like to talk about how would our world look like on site opposition. Firstly, we would be willing to support all rhetorics that are hopeful and promising for the future of a country. Secondly, we would caveat the fact that we still emphasize on political campaigns on policies. So it means that behind the retards, there are still these promising policies. And thirdly, for the sake of context, not all rhetorics are generalized and vague. For example, make America rich again or make America for Americans, which basically means that for make America rich again, it's based on the changes in economy, and for the make America uh, for Americans, it is based on how America wants to not have any immigrants at all. Fourthly, why it won't be too general is because political parties are in direct competition with each other, and that's why there won't be any rhetoric saying that oh America will be great again, America will be good again, America will be excellent again. It won't be the same. Yeah. But we can also debate on the grounds that the rhetorics are general. Rebuttals will be integrated into the arguments. My first argument is on how hopeful rhetorics can instill hope and nationalistic values in citizens. First level analysis, the rhetorics are impactful and gives hope to Malaysians. And first to that is that it gives a sense of promise for the citizens. And so the citizens will get what they want in the end. And so these rhetorics, they are not vague. They actually have a lot of meaning to it. For example, make Malaysia rich again. So these citizens who listen to these rhetorics, maybe they want to have a Malaysia that has great economical changes, right? And this is important because it leaves impact to the train of thought to the citizens. And this is important because we want citizens to feel empowered and we want them to feel inspired and have the spirit to vote for the policies that they want. And second level of analysis, what the government asks is what if politicians do not enact the rhetoric that they say they would do? Well, we believe on side opposition that it is principally similar to when politicians don't comply to policies, which means that it's not mutually exclusive to their side. For example, the rhetoric "Make America Great Again" when we see when the citizens see that America is not great, they can still call out these politicians. But on their side, when they only have policies, for example, they want Trump wants 100,000 people to get jobs, and they don't get the jobs in the end, they can still call out the politicians the same way as how rhetoric works. And this can also help the citizens to call out politicians who don't comply to the rhetorics. For example, these people are able to voice out their opinions. And this is important because citizens have a right to exercise their rights as a citizen, which is to voice out what they think, what they want, what their interests are. And we all know that the government's duty is to cater to its citizens. And politicians will now be incentivized to comply to most of the interests of their citizens. Compared to their side, outside government, where they only campaign on the basis of policies, only those who feel advocated to these policies will be able to voice out their opinions. And so now, this will cause a numerous of problems. Number one, politicians will only attempt to enact policies that they promise and not necessarily policies that are necessary. Why? Because they don't have the urge to actually make new policies based on what the citizens actually want. Number two, citizens who want changes in other areas that is aside from the policies of these specific parties, they don't have the incentive to voice out their thoughts. Why? Because based on specific policies that are stipulated, they will think, oh, if I want electricity and Trump only wants to get jobs, then I can't talk about what I want because there's no general objective in their policy. It's only about jobs when what I want is different. And on our side, generalized rhetoric allows citizens to actually voice out the changes they want. For example, make America great again. It shows that, oh, many citizens can say, oh, they want electricity, they want water, they want food, they want jobs. And it all fits into the same objective to make America great again. My second argument is how voting on the basis of rhetoric are legitimate form of political expression. First of all, analysis. These citizens can vote for what represents them the best. So the reason why we have these extreme parties, for example, past, where they have these parties such as, oh, if you have to marry the person you rate, you have to marry the person who you sit next to. Like the reason these parties still exist is because there are so many people in a country and they have so many views on certain things. Second of second of all, analysis, we advocate towards the needs of individuals who don't have political information to vote. So a democracy consists of so many people. There are the rich people and there are the poor people. And as we all know, some poor people they don't actually have the access to resources on the policies that these parties actually run. And so when there are only policies, not every single member of a country will be able to understand or access the info in the first place. And so what happens is number one, they will either vote randomly, or number two, the worst case is they will abstain from even voting. And why is this very harmful? Is because now the country does not take into account the voices of the majority of the people in Malaysia. So if you want to go on this side, which inspires hope into Malaysians and inspires everybody, most people in our country to have to make Malaysia what they want, then go with side opposition.
I thank the leader of opposition for that speech. Her name is Ariana binti Saiful. I was talking to the teams earlier, asking for interesting facts, probably, so that I could mention them in between the speeches. And Ariana was very shy to tell me any facts. She was generally a shy person when I was talking to her. But during that speech, Ariana's speech was far from shy. Ariana's speech was, if I may say, grande. Yeah, funny. Next, I would like to invite the next speaker, Deputy Prime Minister, to carry on the case for the government. Cheers here.
our side has been very, very, very trying to give POIs to the leader of opposition. Right? What she did was she did not accept any POIs. So our side have been left blinded, have been left on all of the questions that came from our side have been left unanswered. Therefore, we do not have any form of clarification coming from the side of opposition. Firstly, before I start with my arguments, few rebuttals coming from side of government. Firstly, they told you about how this form of rhetoric, this form of hopeful rhetoric gives uh, can help everyone or everything can fit into this hopeful rhetoric in order to make America great again or in order to make a new Malaysia or so on and whatnot. Right? They tell you that because it fits all into one objective, because it fits all into one rhetoric in the end of the day, we tell you that this is why it is harmful. Because anything that the politician do, anything that the leader does in the first place are going to be fit into that rhetoric in the very first place, right? Oh, from firing someone, Trump firing the deputy director of FBI, or that is going to make America great, or Trump raising putting tariffs, the 10% tariffs on aluminum, or that is going to make America great. We see that this is a form of false justification coming from side of opposition in the very first place. Secondly, they told you about how these voters, sure, they might be blinded by this all of this hopeful rhetoric, right? But this vote is still legitimate in the end of the day. We tell you that sure, firstly, it is not legitimate because they don't have the informed choice because their decisions are clouded by all of these hopeful rhetorics that they are put into their brains in the end of the day. We tell you that this form of brainwash, this form of clouding their decisions are very harmful because they don't have that certain informed decision to make when they vote. Secondly, even if it is legitimate, it is very harmful because it provides that these people will always support this government in whatever they do, even if this government is very even if what the government do is very harmful in the end of the day. Secondly and thirdly, they told you about how poor people don't have the resource to seek out all of this information regarding these politicians or regarding these political campaigns, and they can have this hopeful stories to guide them to which parties they want to support at the end of the day. So we tell you that due to all of these hopeful rhetorics, it will further cloud the judgment of these poor people. It will further blind these poor people to vote for this all to vote all of these political parties wrongly in the end of the day. So, in the end of the day. Before I move on to my argument, yeah.
Then how will your side provide access to these poor individuals who don't know or lack the knowledge to vote?
When we tell you about voting, and these poor people, sure, they might not have an informed choice, but on the other side, it is much more harmful because these people are further clouded. Their judgment are further clouded, or their judgment are further blinded by all of these hopeful rhetorics, all these shining bright lights, all these shining one-liners that they are supporting in the end of the day. Moving on to my arguments, which is the clouding the judgment of the government and the people of society. Please, first level is how does the judgment of the people work? Secondly, what do these hopeful rhetorics do? And thirdly, the comparative under both sides. And how does a world without hopeful rhetorics look like? Firstly, how does the judgment of people work? When people are unsatisfied, they can voice out and they can do all these protests and all these mediums to voice out, right? We tell you that in a democratic country, they can all have all of these mediums in order for them to show that they are unsatisfied with the current ruling government. We tell you that this is a form of check and balance system so that they can control the government decision, so that the power is balanced between the government and society at the end of the day. Secondly, what do these hopeful rhetorics do that harms this form of that harms the judgment of these people? We tell you that the hopeful rhetorics will cloud the judgment of the people. It cloud the judgment of the people, of the government supporters, right? So what will happen to the non-government supporters, that people that didn't support government in the very first place? These people are going to be silenced, and these hopeful rhetorics are going to be used against them. Oh, you are going against Trump. You don't want to make America great again. Oh, you are going against PKR. Oh, you don't want to make a new Malaysia, and so on and so forth. Right? We believe that these non-supporters are going to be silenced by using this hopeful rhetoric. And when this judgment of the people are clouded, they will falsely justify whatever the government do using the slogan itself, and they wouldn't question the government at the end of the day. People who do question the government are going to be silenced. Right? Secondly, it incentivizes the leaders to abuse their power in the end of the day. When we talk about leaders gaining support or leaders gaining this form of gaining all these supporters by using this hopeful rhetoric, right? We tell you that these leaders can do anything that they want because anything that they do is in the name of the slogan. Oh, I want to kill someone. Oh, I want to raise the price of all these things. I want to increase tax. Or it's in the name of making America great again. We tell you that this is very harmful because it leaders, incentivizes these leaders to to abuse their power in the end of the day. For example, like Trump increasing the facing taxes and using this slogan as false certification. Right? Third level is the comparative, and how does a world without hopeful rhetoric look like? We tell you that when hopeful rhetoric doesn't exist, and when hopeful rhetoric doesn't happen, we tell you that people will be much more realistic in choosing its leaders. That means they are going to choose more credible leaders in the end of the day. They will more likely than not, they are going to look at all of the track records of these politicians, they are going to look at the criminal records in the end of the day, right? We tell you that these leaders would have to be more statistically centered regarding their policies and manifestos. They won't just, put all of these bright lights, put all of these one-liners, fancy one-liners in order to gain support. They need to prove statistics and on all of this. Right? We tell you, if they would argue that, oh, it is not mutually exclusive, it also exists under their side, we tell you that people would be much more persuaded by all of these over-endorsed slogans because these over-endorsed slogans are actually over-endorsed in the very first place. Right? People would be much more persuaded by all of this instead of all of these track records or all of these track records in the very first place. We tell you that even if you want people to make an informed choice when they vote, if you want people to have to, if you want leaders to not abuse their power, go with side of government.
Thank the Deputy Prime Minister for that speech, Brother Mufid Ilham Adnan. Fun fact about Mufid, it doesn't look like it, but he says he used to play rugby. But then he broke his leg, and then he ended up debating, and that's what he's doing now. I guess that happened for the best. Stay away from the field, Mufid, that's not a safe place. Next up, I would like to invite the Deputy Leader of Opposition to carry on the case from the opposition bench. Here.
The important recognition that we have to make in this debate is that side government cannot determine what is political correctness and what is something that fully represents a person in society. It may mean voting for right-wing populist policies, but also could mean voting for neoliberalism, for example. Given the fact that we live in a society that constitutes of people with subjective ideals, it should be perfectly legitimate for people to vote on the basis of what fully represents them. Two questions that I'm going to answer in my speech. The first, how hopeful rhetoric is a legitimate tool in politics. And two, will there be victim blaming in a world in which hopeful rhetoric exists? All positive material and rebuttals will be integrated. So first, let me deal with the victim blaming. Because their argument was that when you use hopeful rhetoric, people are going to say, hey, why aren't you voting for PAS? You don't want to make Malaysia great again. Why aren't you voting for BN? You don't want to make Malaysia great again. This premise of the argument is contingent upon the fact that there is only one political party and one hopeful rhetoric. We don't think it's a reality. We think there exists many political parties fighting for many different hopeful rhetoric. So we think in this circumstance, it's pretty similar, right? For example, having make Malaysia richer again, or make Malaysia a country for only Malaysians, are all hopeful rhetoric that political parties can use, and I don't think it can be a legitimate tool for you to use against another person because that principle also applies in the world of government. Like, oh, you don't want jobs, is it? You don't want things like free electricity. It same applies towards things like policy. So I don't see that how that harm exists. But secondly, more importantly, on the justification of hopeful policies, the hopeful rhetoric. So what did they tell you? They told you that hopeful rhetoric is extremely vague. The first thing they will say to that is not all instances exist where hopeful rhetoric are vague, especially since political parties are in direct competition with other parties, which means if they are vague, they're just unrealistic and just dumb. So obviously, they have political parties that scope towards one particular issue. For example, economy. For example, things like getting poor people's rights or counting towards poor people's rights. So all these are scoped down. We think secondly is that we completely did not say we are disagreeing the existence of policies. We don't see why you can also exist a world where you have hopeful rhetoric at the same time have policies and people being inspired by these policies and also rhetoric that exists. We don't see why there's not mutually exclusive. But we debate on the ground of it being general and we'll still prove to you how even it's very vague, we'll still defend it. Why? Because we think even if it's vague, it is more accessible. Because side government completely denied the existence of poor people and uneducated people. Because there always exist people who are inaccessible towards this sort of political information to be able to partake in an election. In this circumstance, at least you have some form of hopeful rhetoric for you to make a basis of where you want to vote from. For example, you want to improve the economy, you see make America rich again, you vote on that ground. It's still some form of representation of what you want in the future, as opposed to a world where you vote randomly. Secondly, and more importantly, is that it instills hope. And this argument is really important because optimism drives you to be patriotic and to strive for what's best for your country. This is when you feel inspired or impacted by this hopeful rhetoric, is the point in which you're also able to go out to pressure the government to see the changes that you want to see. Because if government promises you something that is big, that ideal can be achieved through many ways. And this is when you're more likely to incentivize more individuals to come out and voice out about the opinions that you want to see. And this is what we have to say. Maybe it's true that the government cannot comply to every single people, but the fact that more people voice out about the changes that they want to see, given the fact that it's vague, that is when more accountability is given towards these people. So on a net, more rights are being taken account to, although they cannot comply towards every single person. And there's political capital right now because you're less likely to have a seat, you're less likely to voice out in a world of government because right now you'll only voice out a policy that is stipulated within the manifestos of a politician. For example, you want jobs, but a politician promises free electricity. You are less likely to voice out because you feel like it's irrelevant and you don't matter in a democracy if it doesn't represent who you want. But in a world in which it's generalized, that's when every single voice matters and a politician is more likely to maintain their PR to count to it as much as possible. But let's take a look at a weird argument the government talked about. They say, what if they don't comply? I think if you don't comply, you just follow regular procedures like calling out the politician, also rallying out protesting. We don't see why those measures are mutually exclusive. It can also occur in outside. But more importantly, people can have a discussion to rationalize whether or not this is a political scheme made by politicians or whether it's actually true and it will happen. So the fact that there is some conversation that exists and some discussions allows people to actually acknowledge whether or not the hopeful rhetoric is the rhetoric that they want to do so. And we also see that this impact of this rhetoric is especially important in times of recession, especially in times where there is instability in politics or instability in economics. In our world, where you have rhetoric, a lot of people will hold this rhetoric closely to them and say things will get better, America will be better again, Malaysia will be great again. These are the rhetoric that you hold closely to them, that promises that gives hope to them that things will be better. This is when in your world, where there is instability in the government does things like austerity, where people have to comply. In your world, that's when they would protest. You say, hey, our economy will be good. But in your world, you promise things like this so stipulated policies, but it didn't happen. That's why you protest and make systems even worse within those countries. But in our world, in those kind of circumstances, people will be patient and wait to note that these policies and that America will be great again and the government knows what's best for your country. Before moving on, sure.
Don't you think that people are much more likely to be influenced by these slogans because they are exaggerated and therefore the statistics that they provide are concrete. Therefore, people are much more influenced to understand the slogan because it's easier for them to understand.
Firstly, even if they're influenced, we think that there can still exist some discussion to note about the policies. But let's say they're influenced blindly, it's completely general and completely irrelevant. We still think it's a legitimate form of political expression. Like what we told you, right? The reason why government allows religious parties to exist, there are some remnants of it being radical, but the reason why people allow people to vote for these parties is because they want to vote for something that fully represents you. So in those circumstances, rhetorically powerful statements are also something that can represent you as a person or as a citizen in a country. It should be perfectly legitimate to do so. So even if it's falso, it is some hope that is still driving you towards doing something that is good. Because falso has so many parallels in society. Things like miracles in religion. You actually don't know whether it's going to exist, but that miracle helps you have some form of hope that things will get better, or like religion helps you give some form of solace. We think those parallels also exist in this circumstance, where hope drives you to create situations better for your country and also to improve the situations on the ground. So what's our comparative? In our world, maybe it's true that some people will be blinded and some policies will be vague, but it's also a connotation of what they feel like in a democracy. In your world, people won't understand the whole full detailed intricacies of policies, and they won't even vote if they cannot understand that will be the demise of the community and the nation that is not built upon every single person's rights.
Thank the Deputy Leader of Opposition, Kuhan Karthikeyan Alalaki Ravichandran. Aside from debating in his free time, one thing that Kuhan likes to do is to eat. And I was like, oh my god, same man. Like I love to eat too. And then I asked him, follow-up question. What is your favorite food that you like to eat? She also happens to be same as my favorite food. It's curry. Obviously, right? I'm not racist. We discussed this joke. He approved it, okay? Right. Next, I'd like to invite the government whip. Here.
I were a politician standing in this podium right now, my favorite slogan would be to make the moon court awake again. Therefore, under side opposition, they misunderstood our piece. Number one, I think that we reject every usage of rhetorics, which means that every political party do not propagate these harmful rhetorics. Therefore, no one places the significance on these slogans. My deputy prime minister has already argued to what it looks like under our world. It will be a world in which the party give the statistics, the track records of these politicians. Therefore, the judgment of the people are much more centered on these concrete facts, on these things that cannot be exaggerated because then it will be lying. Therefore, they have already said that people are much more inclined to believe in these slogans because they are uneducated. I think that's manipulation. I think that's very harmful for you to give politicians that power. So let's move on towards the contentions that I have identified in today's debate. Number one, is hopeful rhetoric beneficial? And second, does hopeful rhetoric decline the people? Number one, is hopeful rhetoric beneficial? No, thank you. So first, our Prime Minister has already forwarded the argument how it misinterprets the government's objective, how it gives an illusion of an idealistic government, and how people will then lose trust in the government. The leader of opposition has completely disregarded this argument and say that people can still voice out. Well, I tell you that America is a democratic country right now. And how I tell you there are hundreds of marches, hundreds of protesters organized against Trump, but Trump is still in office. And recent studies show that only 28% of Americans are supporting Trump, but Trump is still in office. That's why we tell you that these alternatives are probably not going to work because these individuals still holds the pinnacle of power, therefore they can do whatever they want to abuse the minority. So that no thank you. The leader of opposition instead came up with the argument that how it instills nationalistic values. This is very harmful when you exaggerate some facts, how we see them. This is very harmful how people exaggerate some facts, how people make things unclear. Therefore, people would then make misinformed decisions. This is not mutually exclusive. When people feel empowered and inspired, people can still feel empowered on the outside. People can still be proud of their country. This is not mutually exclusive. Therefore, it is not contentious in this debate. Even if it is exclusive, I think it is still harmful in which people then it would then create nations like Nazi Germany who exaggerated of the harmfulness of Jews and people in the minority. Therefore, it provides the government with the power to abuse their power in which they manipulate these facts, they manipulate these slogans in order to gain control of the population. That is very harmful and that makes the government manipulative. But before moving on, sure,
Your main line of contention is that there exist people who will be manipulated and these promises will not be kept. Why can't in this world people actually voice out and call out these sort of acts and also rally up against the government in the event that it does happen?
you have to understand that during the process of promoting these slogans, the majority of people would then accept it. Because the very reason they are in power is because the majority of people believe in these slogans. When people voice out against these people, then the politicians use this slogan as a weapon, as a false justification in which way they persecute the people that are against them. That's how I will respond to that argument. Secondly, how they say that it's still a legitimate decision even if they decide based solely on slogans. I've already argued to you on which why people make misinformed decisions. But fine, let's just argue that people make misinformed decisions and it's still legitimate. I think it's very harmful when people can be manipulated and therefore it becomes a one-sided check and balance system in which people are not able to voice out against the government. Therefore, it makes them more abusive. So what's the conclusion in this issue? Number one, our main point of contention on how it creates an illusion of an idealistic government still stands because we think that it creates a bubble in which people only believe that this slogan is true. People have to support the government because this slogan is frequently propagated by the government. If people are to voice out against the government, they would then use the slogan against them. This does not create a democratic world that they say that they are creating. Moving on to the second issue. Does hopeful rhetoric blind the people? Number one, our deputy prime minister has already told to you how it will lead to government abuse and it will lead to blind support by the government supporters. Therefore, they do not question the actions of these government. It makes people much more prone to be manipulated by the government. Their simple response is that, well, there are many slogans, many political parties in which people can choose what kind of slogans you believe in. That is simply not the main subject in this debate. We are arguing to you why is it even justified to use these hopeful slogans? How it will be much more harmful when people believe these slogans. It's not about like how it empowers the majority party or the minority party. It's about using these slogans itself. No matter what kind of party that you believe in, if you believe it based on solely of on the sole reason of slogans, I think that it is still harmful. I think that it should not be carried out. Secondly, how they say that false hope is good because it carries change. I think number one, false hope is not good because people will then have false evaluations on certain situations. When people carry out actions, they are based solely on the slogans. They are based solely on how America would then stand great again, how America would then make, how then America be much more uh, free from immigrants. Therefore, it creates a manipulative situation. Even if this false hope is good, I think there are certain reasons where it is even if false hope is good, I think the harms still stands and people would then be prone to be manipulated. And the right to expression does not even stand because number one, the, the voices that you voice out are based solely on clouded decisions. Therefore, they are not even legitimate for you to evaluate on. But simply, these are the only two lines that they gave us. Number one, why falsehood is good, and how right to expression still stands under their side. So, whatever, we will debate. Thank you.
I thank the government whip, Muhammad Akif Hashim. I asked him, Akif, why do you debate? Like, it's stressful, it's tiring, like, why do you do it? His answer was because Malay debate was full. So that's why he's doing English. But we all know why he's actually debating. He goes to a boys' school. Like, this is also his only chance to, qualify now. IDC is where I found my first love. That's a lie, nobody wants me. Next, I would like to invite the opposition whip. Here.
Yes. Government is a side which concedes and we recognize the importance of democracy. There's no right or wrong in a vote. We recognize crowded judgment is okay and we cater to a larger crowd of individuals. How will my speech be laid out today? I have two issues in today's speech. Is firstly, which side further progresses democracy, and secondly, which side better instills nationalistic values. Firstly, one rebuttal that don't fit into my issues. They totally claimed on how rhetoric is extremely bad because you can manipulate. That's not mutually exclusive. There's also policies which are racist policies, religious policies, which are also able to manipulate users on the ground. And it's not mutually exclusive. And I'll tell you why it's better under outside. But moving on to my first issue, right? My first issue on which side further better progresses democracy, right? Firstly, what's the main flaw in the side of opposition, in the side of government? They fail to recognize how democracy works. We tell you that clouded judgment is fine because why? That's your right and autonomy to vote. If you feel like that certain policy represents you best, even though it harms other people, we tell you it's fine because it's large spectrum of people will vote. We tell you it's fine to have that clouded judgment. It's fine to vote for that racist rhetoric because we believe that is what represents you best and this is what democracy is for. They fail to recognize that, right? But in our worst case, right, when people don't rationalize and blindly vote, right, and where the country goes in chaos, right, we tell you firstly why it's unlikely to happen. Because not everyone will blindly follow the rhetoric. There's a large majority of people who can rationalize and think of the best policies possible. Why is it more likely than not for them to want to rationalize? It's because it's their future of their country, for God's sake. So they're more likely than not to not only review based on rhetorics, but also look and review to the policy, right? Secondly, right, political parties are more likely than not to have initiative to create strategic policies. Why? Because they have competition. BN has to compete with Pakatan, right? So it's more likely than not for them not only to depend on rhetorics, but to have the best strategy possible, to have the most policies possible, to garner as much support as possible. So it's more likely than not for them to get think tanks to think about the best policies possible, to garner the most attention, most out, right? And also they talk about how now you have authoritarian regimes that will exist on how you won't be able to voice out, right? But we tell you we can call out, right? They say marches don't work in the US. This is factually false. There's marches in the US such as the DACA movement, right? The immigration where parents are segregated from their child. People protested and the laws and the constitution actually made it change. But even if the call out is not enough, right? We can prove to you the recent the elections of this year managed to push out 60 years of BN out of the country. We tell you that democracy works and voting works. Even if the marches and whatnot doesn't occur, we believe we're able to vote out corrupted presidents because the call-out system still works in democracy. But before I move on, sure.
Uh, Trump has sexually harassed women, and it happens before the election. And in election, he still wins in a landslide victory because of his slogans of how he promises to make America immigrant. How do you say that we are able to have that check and balance when people are misinformed?
Firstly, I tell you it's already fine. If people feel like this sexual harasser is the best representation of myself, that's your autonomy to vote for that individual themselves. We tell you that's the autonomy and your right to vote. We believe you, the government, has no right and wrong to tell apart on what vote is legitimate and what vote is not. Because the majority of country chose to vote for that president no matter what, even though there's policies and whatnot, right? Secondly, I told you how it will instill nationalistic values.
which side has it better, right? We cater towards a larger spectrum of people because we get to cater towards people who have less access to it. But they say it's harmful because it's big. We tell you firstly, it's fine because people are more likely to voice out when it's big. Because when you have certain policies which are already exact, it's less likely for people to voice out. They'll just be like, okay, that's the policy that is set out by my government. But when it's big, it's more likely than not for them to talk about themselves and say certain things like, why is this policy not enacted? It's more likely to happen in outside when it's big and people have the initiative to voice out because they feel like the policies that is brought up by the government is flawed. But practice to their side is people are more likely to not have the initiative because the policy is already set out on their side. It's extremely harmful because now people are more likely to just give up in their side, right? So that's on their side, right? And they also talk to that. Secondly, on the second level, right? Let's talk about false hope. Let's talk about false hope, right? We tell you false hope is fine because false hope is a hope and a narrative that people have the hope for the country to change. When people have the hope, no matter how corrupted the government is, no matter how bad the government is, people have the initiative to discuss because they have that motivational rhetoric to push them to discuss. But in their side, when they already know they have nothing to do, policies are already intact. This is more like when people are more likely to give up and have a more negative impact towards the government. Right? For example, people who already give up, they choose not to turn up for votes. It's more likely than not when you have rhetoric such as this, people have the initiative to change the country because they better understand and it's something they can go to. This is what their side takes away. This is what their side people are more likely to not vote and give up on democracy as a whole. Let's paint a comparative and a picture between how both worlds looks like. Firstly, we further uphold democracy because we recognize how democracy works. No matter how bad your president is, it's your choice and it's your legitimate right to vote for the individual himself. Because that is your right to autonomy. That's what they failed to prove to you. They prove to you why is it wrong for you, why is a certain type of vote harmful to you, and they failed to do that. They already proved to you how clouded judgment is fine because it's your right to vote and it's your right to autonomy, right? And we also told you on how even in the worst case scenario, we elect a worst of government or a government who is extremely bad. We tell you there's fallout and things, check and balances that can be carried out at the end of the day. Even in the worst case, we wait till the next election and we kick the president out of the country, right? And also we told you on how false hope is essential and how it can better bring about the betterment of the nation. So let's look at a world how a better nation will be built under our side. A better nation will be built under our side because we get to further uphold democracy. Recognize the importance of your self-right and your self-autonomy to vote. And we also tell you how hope, even though it's false, it's a good initiative to create change. Side opposition is a side which upholds democracy and doesn't judge you for what you vote and what you believe for. Their side is a side which intervenes in that and judges you for who you vote. We recognize that hope is important and we recognize that democracy must be upheld. Go with opposition.
Thank the opposition whip, Muhammad Harith Fahmi. Uh, Harith's favorite cartoon is Rick and Morty. Do we have any Rick and Morty fans in the house? I'm sorry for what's going on in your mind for you to like Rick and Morty. That show's messed up. To carry on with the debate and to end the debate from government bench and opposition first, sorry. Opposition bench, I invite the opposition reply. Here.
In my reply, I'm going to discuss the contention from side of government. How do we deal with this contention and why we want this debate? So the first contention from government, they said that hopeful rhetoric are misleading and that is bad. But first, we said that the likely reaction of majority of society, especially since they want to see the sort of good future of the country, they are more likely to weigh in the hopeful rhetoric and also take into account the policies that a political party has. Because not every single person is going to vote on the basis of a hopeful rhetoric, but also debate on that ground. So in our world, majority of individuals will vote on both cases, and that is best because you're fully informed and you also have some form of hope from this rhetoric. But secondly, is they were more likely to encourage discussion, and this is where they missed out. We said that when there exists hopeful rhetoric, there can exist conversation from people to ascertain, to rationalize whether or not a hopeful rhetoric is as a result of a political scheme or actually something that is going to be a real promise? How can you discussion? I don't know, maybe just compare the policies and also the hopeful rhetoric, also weighing in the character and the speeches of the politicians to make discussion. All in all, it just proves that discussion can happen and people can rationalize whether or not this hopeful rhetoric is good. But what is they are manipulated and it's as a result of a clouded judgment? We think manipulation exists either ways in a world in which you're blinded by the fact that you want to vote for a politician because he has religious policies. It's similar, the principle applies similar. But and then what Op said, um, like Trump harassed the girl and still voted into power because he made America great, because he said you make America great again. Although I don't like rebutting or dealing with examples, but Trump got into power because of populist narratives, because he scapegoated immigrants, because he blamed and discriminated minorities to show that Americans are in power. That's how he got voted into parliament. Making America great again is an additional factor, which is what we're all the way talking about. We think hopeful rhetoric is just on the surface gives some form of hope towards individuals to hold on towards them, inspires them to be nationalistic and fight and strive for their country. But in vast majority of instances, they'll also look at those policies which we think are great. But more importantly, we think we allow for accessibility towards poor communities. We think a lot of times people don't have information that is necessary for them to vote or partake in election. This is when they are completely strapped out or mattering in a democracy because they don't know who to vote for because they just don't know anything about politics. This is when we give accessibility because when they see a hopeful rhetoric, there is some form of representation that you can occur. Maybe it's not detailed intricacies, but the fact that maybe you want to win on economy and you vote for the political party based on economy, it's some form of you voting for a political party that fully represents what you want. So what if the lives of people are screwed over? We think that there always exist checks and balances for you to call out a certain politician, the point which they screw over. We can also do things like protest, or you don't vote for this political party in the future because they screwed you over. We think the point is this hopeful rhetoric is meant to instill a level of patriotism in them or hold a level of hope within them in order to push or strive better for the country. And even if they don't, we think the checks and balances the government talked about also exist in our world. So we think the comparative then is we think a hopeful rhetoric can allow individuals to be patient, to hold on in times of extreme recession, where government's taking a measure. They can hold on to note that things will be better, that America will be great again, especially poor people who don't have this information. This when this rhetoric will be held closely towards them, and they'll have hope that things will be better. Even if it's false hope, it's still a hope that drives them to do something, to actively fight for change. That is still a benefit under our side. So before I end my speech, I want to borrow Sarah Salihan's sensationalized like her reply speech. This is my last speech as a KY's debater, and I hope I've convinced you that we won and Sada lost this debate.
Thank you, Kuvin, for the reply speech. Now to end the debate, I invite government reply. Here.
So here's what I'll be doing in my reply speech. Number one is point out the technical issues, and number two, tell you why we win today's debate. So number one, let's look at the technical issues. So firstly, the first speaker never accepted any POIs. I don't know throughout it. So whatever happened there is that he was very afraid to engage with us at the very first place. Secondly, we never heard a clear response to our argument of the government being able to manipulate their policies. So under their world, they are the world that will screw you over just because you understand that, oh, this government is going to make America great again. Therefore, because these people believe I can be racist, I can be Islamophobic at the end of the day. Right? Secondly, and thirdly, they are also, we believe that they are, okay, now let's talk about why we win today's debate. Right? So number one, which side can have the better political influences towards individuals? So they talked about how these people, how there are also specific rhetorics that exist within status quo. However, we believe that this specific rhetorics does not actually exist because we have already characterized to you the idea of it being vague. The reason why it was vague is for these people to be more impactful, for it to be more influential towards individuals. So the idea of having those specific rhetorics would not actually exist within our world today. First, so whatever. So secondly, they also talk to you about having these hopeful rhetorics will give these people hope. Will give hope to poor people who cannot access this form of political knowledge, right? So I believe that it is better for for these individuals to not get this form of political knowledge rather than you giving them fake hope, which they will never get at the end of the day. Sure, you might say that make America great again, it will influence these poor people. However, we already argued to you because you can manipulate those policies, you might not even help these poor people, which leads to these people losing trust towards the government, therefore no longer supporting any policies that you will make at the end of the day, right? Which is more harmful towards that certain country, right? And the third speaker talked about through that POI, they are okay with these people not being represented. They wanted the harm because they were okay with these people being clouded with their judgment because they believe that Trump was the best representation for them, even though he sexually harassed women, even though he was Islamophobic. And they tried to dilute that by saying, oh, we will call out, call out, call out, call out. Yeah, no matter how much you call out, the damage is already done. People are already harmed at the end of the day, right? So when you call out this, even if you do call out, you cannot change it at that point of time. Sure, there might be the next election. However, when these individuals have already suffered from whatever the thing that they have done, from the manipulative government that exists within our world today, I believe that it's not right for you to have this hopeful rhetorics at the end of the day, right? So second issue on why we win, right? Which side can have the better government, right? So under their world, they want to create a world where it will be more open. There will be more room for people to get their voices heard. So what? These politicians have their own political agenda, which means if these people are not in line with their political agenda, your vague form of hopeful rhetoric will not actually cater to these people. So the idea of having this form of voices heard does not hold any value towards their case at the end of the day. Right? It does not create any form of change whatsoever. Right. So secondly, we believe that they asked us on how you are able to influence more people, on how you can create a better government when you don't give hope to these people, when these people don't know who to choose. Yeah, under our world, without hopeful rhetorics, it will be statistically centered, which means it's much more credible and it's much more concrete, as my second speaker and also third speaker have told to you. Therefore, people will choose which policy is best. Is that so hard for you to make out? Right. I believe that KYS today have a problem with making logic count, right? Lastly, we believe that they have the idea of that people will always rationalize so that these people can decide which government will be the best for them. Yeah, I think it's already clear now that America is screwed over by Trump itself by having these aluminum prices raised and by banning Muslims from this airport, so on and whatnot. So I believe that the idea of rationalized will also be clouded when you further give this hopeful rhetorics. So let's be realistic and not be idealistic. Thank you.
Thank you, Hazim. Now we've come to the end of the debate. Let's give our debaters another round of applause, shall we? I'd like to invite I would like to invite our judges to the executive room for deliberation. Let's give a round of applause to our judges who took time off of their very busy day to come judge for us today. Except probably Itzam, he doesn't do much. He just finishes his rice at home. Both teams may cross the floor, shake hands or not shake hands, and the results for tonight's debate shall be announced tomorrow during the closing ceremony. I thank everyone tonight for coming here. It has been a pleasure to make a fool of myself in front of every one of you. Just remember that I used to be in this crowd. Like, I've never been in the finals of IDC. But coming to Iium, being able to debate for Iium, I've been able to go to Jakarta, Bangkok, Cambodia, a lot of other countries and judge in countries like Singapore because of the opportunities that Iium has given to me. So I hope that everyone here continues on with their passion of debating, and I hope everyone here gets success. It's time for me to, yeah, that's the end of Oh, so after this, we'll be giving the top 10 speaker awards and pass the floor to our MC, Wan Nurkaya Nurmin Nurain. Thank you.
All right, a big thank you to the Speaker of the House, timekeeper, and both teams. Please give them another round of applause. All right, so
As he has mentioned, without delaying any further, we will be announcing the top 10 speakers to up till the top fourth speaker for tonight for both BM and English category. And the rest of the top three speakers will be announced tomorrow, as well as the results for the final. So we would like to humbly invite Madam Siti Aliza binti Alias on stage to present the awards. We will begin with the top 10 best speakers for BM category. The top 10th best speaker with the average score of 74 is from MRSM Kuantan, Muhammad Akbar Putra Diplomat. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. We have two people tied at 8 with the average speaker scores of 74.33. First tied at 8, Sekolah Tuanku Abdul Rahman Muhammad Lukman Hafiz Bimal Hanif. Second speaker tied at 8 from Sekolah Tuanku Abdul Rahman Budris Iskandar bin Badul Hisham. We also have two speakers tied at 6. The first speaker tied at 6 with average speaker scores of 74.42. Also from Sekolah Tuanku Abdul Rahman Amirul Syafiq bin Suzaini. The fifth best speaker of BM category with the average speaker scores of 74.67 is Aris Izzuddin bin Ramli from College Islam Sultan Alam Shah. And lastly, the fourth best speaker of the tournament in the BM category with average speaker scores of 74.75 from SM Al-Amin Gomba Abdullah Afiq bin Shafi. Now we move on to the top 10 to 4th best speaker of the tournament in the English category. 4 speakers tied at 7th with an average speaker scores of 77. The first speaker, Muhammad Adam Imir bin Maktar Zaman from MRSM to Dr. Ismail. Second speaker tied at 7th from Sekolah Dato' Abdul Razak Muhammad Akif bin Hashim. Next, also tied at 7th from Sekolah Dato' Abdul Razak Muhammad Hazim. And last, to be tied at 7th from Sri Aisha Fidauddin bin Ahmad Fauzi. Next, we have two speakers tied at 5th with an average speaker scores of 77.25. Firstly, from Sekolah Sri Putri Yasmin Sofia binti Rezi. And lastly, also tied, Muhammad Lukman bin Muhammad Nawar from Malay College, Kuala Kangsar. Congratulations to all the speakers. We would like to have Madam Aliza to remain on stage to receive a token of appreciation from the members of the tournament. But before that, we have the 10th best speaker from the BM category from Emerson Kuantan, Muhammad Akmal Putra bin Permata. Thank you again to all the speakers. And now, again, we would like to give the token of appreciation to Madam Aliza. All right, thank you so much, Madam Siti Aliza. So, ladies and gentlemen, the event has come to an end. The IDC organizing committees would like to apologize for any shortcomings and thank you for attending the English finals tonight. Again, as a reminder, the results for the finals tonight, as well as the top 3 speakers of the tournament for both BM and English category, will be announced tomorrow. So we hope to see you tomorrow and have a good night. Thank you very much.
Testing. Okay, baik. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Untuk semua peserta IDC Bahasa Inggeris dan Melayu, bas malam ni pada jam 10.30 malam. Ulang, bas malam ni akan bergerak tepat jam 10.30 malam.